Now, for Snoop to say him and Michael Harris are doing something together as a team, because if it weren't for me, you'd still be in prison doing life.
So the recent talk coming from Knight's prison cell got us all talking. Apparently, the ex-music mogul is tired being so far away from the heat of the recent revelations, and he came forward with his own truth in the most recent episode of his podcast Collect Call with Suge Knight the Incarcerated. Producer dropped a bombshell accusation against none other Snoop Dogg. The details he spilled in that candid talk may be just enough to land Snoop right next to Knight in the same cell as Chug had stated. That the police had missed an important clue in Snoop's case, and in fact he should have been rotting in jail for whooping 20 years.
In the business told me do not waste a dollar on that. I spent $6 million on that case to make sure he didn't get life in prison.
Moreover, Knight dropped claims of personally rescuing Snoop Dogg from a possible life sentence. Guys, he basically told if it weren't for me, Snoop would still be in prison doing life, dishing the dirt. Knight revealed spending a whopping $6 million to handle various messes related to Snoop's and Emma case, including squashing a blackmail attempt within Snoop's inner circle, and even having a sit-down with a private eye to set things straight. According to Knight, his intervention led to the vanishing act of a supposed incriminating tape.
This guy is going to testify that Snoop the one shot the dude and he got some bread, he destroyed the tape, and that's one of the things.
But what made Knight finally speak about this incident 30 years after putting his own former artist in danger? Well, you know how the rapper recently got Jeep on Suge's label in 2022? Apparently, Knight has all reasons to believe that the rapper obtained ownership through shady deals. In an April 2023 audio drop, Knight spilled the tea on Snoop's role as the owner of his label, linking it to an alleged criminal act involving Snoop and Michael Harris, a convicted kingpin and early financier of the label.
But how do you feel about Snoop owning it now?
If you look at it, they committed fraud. They committed bankruptcy fraud.
Knight was truly skeptical whether Snoop is the real shot caller of the label, and accused Harris of pulling a fast one with bankruptcy fraud, claiming Snoop has a partner, which is Michael Harris. Right. If you look at it, they committed bankruptcy fraud. I didn't lose my company by doing anything wrong. Now Knight believes that Snoop is the biggest rat in the circle who stretched his clutches and got the most precious thing that Suge had built his bare hands, the world-famous label. Apparently he's done covering for this person, especially in the light of such a vile betrayal, and it gave him enough motives to air all dirty linen of the industry.
But the most important thing, from Interscope, from everyone else that was in the business, told me do not waste a dollar on that.
Nightman Onto says that he is the reason Snoop got acquitted in his 1996 case, and now he is planning to connect all the dots for the police to make this case reopen, and the rapper facing the charges one more time, according to Suge. Snoop's team of lawyers did not believe they'd be able to prove his innocence, but after Knight paid off a man who was going to give a key testimony against Snoop, he was able to earn a not guilty verdict.
We, the jury in above and Tyler action, find the defendant, Calvin Brodus.
As Suge is now claiming Snoop played him dirty when he decided to thank his savior with such an ugly activity during the podcast, he shared for me to put my own freedom at stake to make sure this guy don't go to prison, to go back and partner up with Michael Harris, who committed fraud against me, and say they're going to try to take my label. You should try to get it back to its rightful owner. So it's all about the power play. But also, as Knight claims, he expects Snoop Dogg to feel the whole wrath of his ex-boss, revenge, and get everything that he deserves, all that are fight for these clowns, because I didn't want them getting robbed, and they crossed me. It looks like Suge is done being useless behind the bars, and as he boldly claimed, he has dirt on every rapper who is currently soaring high in the industry, starting with the biggest traitor, Snoop, who committed fraud to grip his label. He's planning to take them all down one by one, and it doesn't surprise people much as they say Suge's label should have never been touched. As one person commented, I knew once Snoop took that executive position with Death Row, some stuff would come with it. And another user added, Suge is the biggest crab to ever fall to the bottom of the bucket. So Suge is still confident that his label was taken from him because of the fraud. He claimed that an incorrect default judgment in court was the reason behind this loss. In a passionate claim, he asserted that he's the right owner of his label and nothing's going to change. It's no. Want to say they death row, they announced that on the biggest platform in the world, a mother Super Bowl and everywhere else. How many mothering records had they? Some may call this jealousy, because unlike Snoop, Suge Knight was not so cautious about his activities and he paid the ultimate price, being forced to spend the rest of his life in jail. But as the ex-music mogul says, he is not willing to rot alone anymore, and he's coming for others. You can't commit bankruptcy fraud and settle and do those type of things. It's called illegal. It's a crime now. While Knight cannot prove anything about this, he has enough dirt on his good old frenemy Snoop Dogg, and he is coming to expose how the rapper got away with his case 3 decades ago by bribing and deceiving the authorities. I pay for all those suits in different city war court. I pay for his security to off-duty police officers take the court, make sure he get there on time. So while we all seem to know what had happened in this story, with Snoop's case in 1996, Knight is now coming forward with more juicy details, and he's serving the facts as they are. While there were still some doubts about the rapper innocence, Knight is affirming all these speculations, saying how exactly his money played a crucial role in making sure that Snoop Dogg walked out of court a free man. They did what they were supposed to do when they gave the baton to the jury, and I couldn't do nothing but just bank on them. And story as we know it, Snoop Dogg was charged with first degree, and after a member of a rival gang named Philip was shot by Snoop's bodyguard McKinley. Yet in Suge's version, this was not the case, and after the incident he used his connections to make sure no one ever finds the truth. It was also discovered that the LAPD had handled the case with incompetence, shocker, having inadvertently destroyed Philip's clothing, bullets, and shell casing from the scene. While it was a tough case, after 6 days of deliberations, the jury returned not guilty verdicts on all charges against Snoop and his bodyguard. To much real of the defendants, we the jury and title action find a defendant, McKinley Lee. However, this was not the end of the story, as Suge now claims he had to cover some loose ends, even after the whole incident settled. You see, in pursuit of the justice, the victim's family filed a $25 million wrongful lawsuit against Snoop. The suit was confidentially settled out of court for an undisclosed sum in August 1996, and apparently we all know who did it. 2 years ago, this bodyguard who allegedly performed the shot went into acute detail about the trial and the events surrounding it. He sat down with Cam Capone News for an interview to discuss the charges that he and Snoop managed to dodge everything, and I don't think that people really knew that. No one really knows that I was told by during this conversation. He confessed that it was all the act of self-defense, and he actually wanted to lightly harm the guy. When I saw him start to reach, that's when I took my gun and I fired. There was like a little incline. My hope was I wanted to hit him in the lower part of his body, so as I'm aiming, however, the bullet was fatal for Philly, and there was nothing that could be done to save him despite the circumstances. Lee and Snoop decided to turn themselves in, but apparently instructed by Knight waited until after the 1993 MTV Music Awards. They contacted their attorneys and turned themselves in. After the event, a lot of things that we agreed to do that we were going to do together, so it wasn't until 1995 when they finally faced the charges, and as Knight is now saying, all the preparations were done to turn this case into a favorable direction for both defendants. While it was tough and expensive to cover for this crime, Suge hoped that his longtime partnership with Snoop will pay off and the money would be back soon. However, the story turned wild for them both, and the rapper left the label, as he confessed in his interview. Many years later, he couldn't face these people knowing what they had done to help him cover the traces of his crime. My UAO publicity team, like, you're good. They're not going to do anything to you because you didn't do anything over here. The guilt was eating him alive, as the rapper stated. Well, you gotta understand, these guys broke my spirit. They broke me, man, they broke my spirit, so it may just now happen that Suge Knight will do even more harm with his long tongue, and people are weighing and discussing if there's any truth behind Knight's bold accusations. As one person commented, "Nah, Snoopy did not do it, Suge just trying to get out and blame him." And another user added, "Suge is very thirsty. I see he doesn't even care to be labeled a snitch, while Suge Knight doesn't have the power to punish and intimidate anymore. He certainly has the knowledge he may use against his enemies now." I want to know your thoughts on all this. Do you think that Suge is that jealous and angry about his form? or artist acquiring his label that he plots something against Snoop Dogg? Let me know what you're thinking, and meanwhile don't forget to check my other videos.